More and more we're seeing things in the news, things in the media talking about fear, all to grab our attention, to keep us in this heightened state of emergency. Now, when you see that, I know it sounds corny and I know it sounds cheesy, but love really is the answer to those things. Because imagine you're walking down the street and you've got someone who's worried about all their woes. They're mumbling to themselves. They're looking down, looking depressed because of all the energy prices, all the war going on right now, all of these things. And then you're sat there walking along in the present moment with a beaming smile on your face, just admiring the clouds, the trees, and all the lovely people around you. That is really going to reflect out into the world. And those people are going to start looking at you going, "What's up with you? It's like you're in la la land." And they'll start paying attention to what you're doing. So, you being the most loving, kind version of yourself will really send ripples out into this world, and people will be naturally attracted to take on those things that you're doing. You don't need to necessarily convince people of all these wrongs in the world and they've got to oppose them and do it that way. Just be the loving version of yourself and watch people fall in tow. And well done for sticking with it. It's hard work doing some of this internal stuff. It really is quite emotional at times, working on yourself and trying to notice when you're not being the really loving version that you know you want to be. There's so many times we get triggered, just get that little anger, little aggression, even from, traffic, walking down the street, just throwaway comments that people make. And you catching yourself and spotting that and going, actually, I don't really want to answer in a negative way there. I realize that person's just hurt and they're lashing out at me. So I'm not going to respond in kind. You doing that little act of kindness is really serving yourself as well in the future. The more you look into the more spiritual things here, you'll see the more and more we're connected with each other. And when you start to understand that deep connection, you realize the stuff you do to other people is really being done to yourself. And there, it really is almost like a karmic kickback when you see these things out there in the world. And if you want to react in a negative way towards them, and it might temporarily feel good because you got revenge or something like that, you're going to get kicked in the teeth probably with karma as the universe kind of backlashes against you. Because once you start to realize that actually there's a little part of that person in me, so me attacking that person or that part of that person is really me not accepting part of myself at the same time. You can start to see how that's going to affect you in the long term. And once you do see that, you start to embrace a more loving approach. As a landlord myself, it's very easy when people talk about, having power and not letting it get to your head. You know, I have the potential power, if I really needed to ask someone to leave one of the properties. And, with the number of tenants that I've got right now, you can guarantee there's going to be some personalities in there that really could rub me up the wrong way. But having the wisdom, for me anyway, to not lash back when someone says something stupid, when someone attacks me or does something in a nasty way that I really think is quite disgusting that upsets other people, and just saying, you know what, I do have that power, but I don't need to exercise it because I've got the wisdom not to. It's the same thing as, having a gun, having a missile, and realizing I have the potential to kill here, but at the same time, I don't want to use it. I'd actually rather answer with love. And when you look at some of the religious stuff with, for example, Jesus, goes back to his whole thing of forgive them, they know not what they do. Because even in the worst moments where, they're nailing him to the cross, for example, you see that he realizes they're actually doing this harm to themselves. They're going to have to live with that situation of what they've done for the rest of their lives. It's not necessarily going to affect him in that way, but it's really going to have a lasting impact on them going forwards. So, really turning to that love place inside yourself and embracing it fully, it's one of the hardest things you can do because it's honestly going to bring up lots of crap, lots of things that come back from your childhood, all kinds of other things. And you're going to sit there and go, I don't know why I'm feeling crap right now. That's all absolutely fine. It's all part of the process. And well done for sticking at it, because it's not easy to do that work on yourself and try and go out every single day and be the most loving version that you can of yourself. Even when you get reminded of the old version of you that used to exist that wasn't quite perhaps so loving, it's good just to remember and see how far you've come in becoming that better version of yourself. So do give yourself a pat on the back and give yourself a little break from time to time, because you don't have to do the work all the time. It's okay if you have little outbursts from time to time. That's absolutely fine. But when you spot them, you just bring them back on track and try and be an answer in the most loving way. And there's absolutely nothing stopping you going to that person that you might have upset and saying, "Do you know what? I'm really sorry about that. That wasn't a particularly loving response. I apologize for that." And that takes a pretty big person to do that. It takes a lot to admit that we're wrong and go against our own identity and embrace a loving approach and bring the person that might have really offended us back into the fold again. So have a great day. This has been a bit of a random ramble about love, the universe, and everything.